Okay, I just took the thumbnails and it's humiliating. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be giving you kind of the ins and outs and what you need to know, and if it's worth buying, the Loftie Smart Alarm Clock. If you don't know, the Loftie Smart Alarm Clock is this little bad boy right here. And it was an Indiegogo campaign in 2020 that I actually helped fund. And I think I got the clock about a year later. I paid around $120 after taxes and shipping and fees. And nowadays the clock itself sells for about $120 to $150. The whole promise of this clock is that it's a way for you to unplug from your phone, so that way you can still have kind of smart functionality without needing your phone in your bedroom. Now there's noise machines, and then there's alarm clocks, and then there's kind of smart lights and all of that. But the Loftie was like kind of the first one that I had seen that had a really clean design and was very functional towards one goal, which was removing your phone in the bedroom. And to be honest, I've been using it off and on for the last 2 years, 3 years, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. So first, I'm going to kind of tell you the good stuff, and then we're going to get into the not so good stuff. And I'll give a recommendation on, it's 2024, should you buy this or not? So if you want to, you can skip ahead in the chapters in the video. I'll place them there for you guys. So let's start with the good. I mean, number one in the good is the design. It is really clean. I have the white version. This top can come in a bunch of different colors, and it's small. There's a light on the bottom. It's this plastic shell all the way around with the buttons and the speaker on the top. And I think they did a really good job with the design. I like it. It fits in most decor that I've seen. It's modern without being too techy. And I think it's a design that will actually endure for a long time, which is important because this hopefully is not something that you need to buy multiple of over time and you're not upgrading your alarm clock. It's got 3 buttons along the top right here. So you have your light and snooze button, you have a side to side button, and then an off and on. So you can press this top button to turn the light on. You can press the little tiny round button to turn off and on the sleep sounds or your alarm in the morning, and then use the arrow buttons right here to navigate throughout the menu. I think I'm a designer, and I think that the UX and the design of the interface is pretty good. It's pretty manual. You have to go through a lot of clicks. For example, every time I do this at night, I have to hit it a couple of times. So that's not great, but it's not the worst thing ever. Most alarm clocks are that way. Small techie thing, but if it matters to you, it really matters. The port on the back is actually USB-C, which is actually great because it's the only charger I use in my life anymore, and it's just one of those small modern tech things. Instead of using one of those like Android micro USB plugs, it uses USB-C, so it can work with basically any charger you have. The alarm and sound effects category, or sleep sounds category, is actually really well built out. There are over 20 different sleep sounds, and my favorite one, for example, is morning rain. It's just really nice and light, and there's not much variation, so it's easy for me to fall asleep to. But I can guarantee you there's going to be a sound for you. I'll probably put a whole list of them in the description box, but I really appreciate the fact that they're high quality sounds. You can't tell when they've started over or if they change or skip. There's not a very clear seam in between when it starts and ends, which I really appreciate, because my like detail-oriented OCD brain definitely would pick that out really quickly. Just like I showed a second ago, if you tap this top button, you get a nightlight at the bottom. So when it's sitting on a table, there's like kind of a just glow, my table here. And this is useful. I honestly don't use it very much. I think the nightlight, it's a nice warm light. It's relatively bright, like in a pitch dark room. So if you're looking for something, or if you have a partner sleeping next to you and you want to go to the bathroom, it is useful when you need it. I just don't really know how much you actually will need it. I'm going to get into the app in just a minute, but something that I do like is that they have free sounds. So all of the library of sounds that I talked about, just kind of the basic ones, those are just included when you buy the clock. One thing is, when you download the app for the clock itself, you can also play the sounds on the app, which I'll get into in a little bit, but that's helpful for when you're traveling, because I can tell you right now, this is not a clock for travel, even though I really, really, really wish it was. And before I just like take a dump all over this little alarm clock, I wanted to make this video because it's 2024, the alarm clock's been out for years, and if you're looking for it now when it's usually on sale, I just kind of want to give you a very realistic review of it, so that way you don't just fall for the marketing, because all of their imagery and a lot of the ads that I've seen, or a lot of the reviews I've seen, are paid or sponsored, and that can leave kind of a misleading impression. So I'll start off with the good and the bad. The way that I'm actually able to use the alarm clock right now, and it's not plugged in because it needs to be plugged in most of the time, is it has a built-in battery. So the battery is great for if something happens and you lose power, you'll still be able to wake up in the morning with your alarm. The bad side of this is I have tried to use this feature before, kind of on accident, and the battery actually died before I woke up in the morning, so I missed my alarm. This happened a while ago, and honestly, batteries age, so mine just might be old enough that it doesn't work the same way anymore. I appreciate that they included a battery, but I kind of wish I could see how much battery's left or if it's gonna last the night, because if I think that I'm gonna lose power for whatever reason, I might do something different. Okay, here's my big, I wanted to make this video because I kind of hate this thing and I also like it. It requires Wi-Fi for every single thing. When you set it up, you have to download the app, you have to register in the app, and you have to set it up with Wi-Fi. Once it downloads all of the basic sleep sounds, then you don't really need it connected to the internet. I say that the time zone changes, you can do that on the clock. If you want 12 or 24 hours, you can do that on the clock. If you want to change the time, you have to connect it to Wi-Fi and you cannot do it manually, which is truly like bonkers to me. This has been out for years. They have created multiple software updates for it, added a bunch of new features, and they've never given us the ability to just set the time. I like the design of this clock, and I like the sleep sounds, and I like the way it works. I travel for work, and I also travel even within my town if I spend the night somewhere else. And I would love to take this clock with me because it's a nice gentle alarm in the morning. I like the nightlight, and I really like the sleep sounds and how simple it is. It's easy to travel with. But for example, when I went on a work trip, I brought this with me and I couldn't connect it to the hotel Wi-Fi because I can't sign in on the clock. And so I had to connect it to my phone's hotspot so it could figure out where I was so it could set the time correctly. Because, like I mentioned with the battery before, if the battery dies, it does not remember the time. There's not like an internal timekeeping mechanism. And so if I turn it off and drive out an hour way out of town, or if I turn it off and put it in my suitcase and go on a flight, the time will be wildly inaccurate, and there's no way for me to change that. I think that this is crazy. There is a reason why they've done this. For whatever reason, they want it constantly connected to the internet, which I kind of don't love. Privacy-wise and just tech-wise, I wish I could make it dumb, but there really is no option. I've tried multiple times. I've looked at all these different support articles, and everything always just leads me back to connecting it to Wi-Fi. Something else I don't really like is, and I was surprised by, because I would say the marketing material that they output is kind of misleading. This is the screen on max brightness, and I have a light right here, like I have the window, I have the sun, the clouds. You can see it head on, but if you look, because of this plastic shell, at any other angle, it's really hard to see. So even, especially on like a sunny day, if this is on the other side of the room and it's on my nightstand, I cannot tell what time it is. And it is frustrating because I would love to be able to just see the time. I wish they had included an ambient light sensor in here so it can be bright during the day and dark at night. Highest brightness that it goes, and it's still pretty hard to see. But at night, when my room is pitch black, there's definitely a glow. So I think cheaper and other alarm clocks do this better. And I wish that Loftie really would have thought about this, because the design is nice, except for the fact that this plastic is pretty thick and it obstructs the screen and the clock a bit. Another small thing, and it depends on, I guess, if who you sleep with or what your bedroom looks like, you can change the volume by holding the button up at the top, and then you'll see a volume little level right here. And I kind of wish that this clock had a few more physical controls, whether it was shortcuts for specific sounds or alarms that you want to turn off and on, or even a slider in the back for the screen brightness or volume. Changing your sleep sound is a bunch of clicks. So I appreciate the fact that you don't have to use your phone, but it also is just a little too manual. Okay, so now that that's the good and that's the bad, let's get into the app. The app is very basic. When you open the app, you just see your clock or your lamp if you have it from them, and you just have a couple of basic controls. The only other thing you can do is add a new lamp. You can go through all of the audio and play it off of your phone. So I think moving forward, that's what I'm going to do when I travel, because I want the night sounds, or I want the, little alarm sounds. But the weirdest part about this is you can play sounds on the app. You cannot have the app be an alarm. So if I were to go to the alarm tab and turn on like tomorrow morning's alarm at 8 a.m., that's going to sync it to the clock. That's not going to do it on my phone. And one of the things I really like about the Loftie Alarm Clock itself is that it has a 2-stage alarm. Right before your alarm, it comes with subtle, natural sound. You can change that sound and it's pleasant. And then when your alarm, the time hits, then it gives you kind of the bigger alarm. And I wish that my phone could do that, because if they're not going to make this easy for me to travel with for whatever reason, then I would love to just use the app in my phone, but then it only does half of what the alarm clock does, which is kind of confusing. And like I mentioned before, you have to have the app. You have to have the app to set it up. You have to have the app to change its Wi-Fi, so that way it can sync time or update or get new sounds, things like that. So in case you haven't noticed, for an alarm clock that wants you to get away from your phone, there's a couple of moments where you kind of have to touch your phone at different times, usually not before bed, but if you want to go through multiple sounds and hear what they sound like, it's really manual on the clock. It's much easier on your phone. And the alarm clock itself, it was a user requested feature. You can turn it into a Bluetooth speaker in the menu, so that way you can play specific content or guided meditation from your phone, which is great. But at the same time, if the whole point is for me not to use my phone, seems like kind of an odd feature. I almost wish I could download my own tracks to the clock, so they're just on the clock always. This kind of wraps up the review. Is this a buy or a bust? I might lean in on the side of bust. If you have it, they've updated it and supported it, which is great. But I say it's kind of a bust for 2024, because I think what they need to do is come out with a new version. Update the design a little bit, make it a little bit easier to use and see. Just put a little bit more thought into the experience as a whole. I think I would be interested in a clock that just had a more readable display and an ambient light sensor, so I didn't have to adjust the light in the morning and at night. And a battery that lasts, or at least the ability to see battery percentage, and mainly the ability to set the time on the clock. I had this video idea simply because that is so crazy to me. If you want this for home use and you want the audio content and you don't mind the design limitations, then go ahead and buy it. It definitely still works well. And I think there still isn't much out there like it that's refined and like designed cleanly in this way. If you guys have questions about the Loftie, then please leave them below. I love responding to what you guys think, or if I miss something. Loftie makes a lamp that I'm actually really curious in reviewing. It's very beautiful. The entire thing lights up. It's a modern design. It syncs with your clock. And I think is an ecosystem that makes a lot of sense. But that lamp is also like $200. So once again, it's a heavy lift to a certain degree, just to like be in the Loftie cinematic universe. So that's my video for today, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.